Hello and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat. This one is the sort of Halloween episode, I guess, technically. We're maybe a couple days before Halloween, the week of Halloween. And joining me as always is Aaron Capo.
Hello.
And I'm your other host, Zach. And this week, I don't know, we don't have any big crazy news. I guess there is a Switch Online playtest to talk about.
Yes.
But Black Ops 6 is out now. There was a surprise drop of a new sort of spooky season update for No Man's Sky and stuff like that we'll get into. But yeah, you got any special Halloween plans?
Not really. We do usually get a normal amount of trick-or-treaters. Not a ton, but we try to be the cool house that has like full-size candy bars. So we're probably gonna... Last year, I think we just like hung out and watched a scary movie, and then like every once in a while the doorbell would ring, and we would give out candy. So that's probably what we'll do again this year because it's on a Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, it is weird when it hits in the middle of the week like that. But
what about you? Do you have any plans?
No, not really. Just gonna hang out, probably try to watch this new season of What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
I might even rent that Beetlejuice movie because that's
out.
Yeah. I remember watching the first one. It was never like a huge thing for me. Like I know a lot of people are like really nostalgic for it and really love that first movie. I've seen it like a few times. It was never my favorite Tim Burton movie, but I enjoy it well enough, and maybe I'll do like a double feature or something and watch the first one and then the second one.
I've heard the second one is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, so have I. So I'm curious to see it, but I think that is available digitally now, so I might check that out. But speaking of things I want to check out, the Sean Murray Twitter account. I don't know if this is like the official sort of No Man's Sky account, but on X. But they were tweeting about No Man's Sky The Cursed, which is a new expedition, a new update that dropped in No Man's Sky this last week. And I did start it, but I only just briefly started it. I didn't have a lot of time to play, so I am not very far in it yet. But free update, as they all are. And it seems kind of cool. You like start off on this planet, and there's this like giant sort of space squid thing that is like floating in the sky, and you're like getting these weird sort of messages that are very cryptic pop up on your screen, and like your screen gets all dark and weird and sort of oily shadow type things, and then you see these little squids like kind of come out of the ground and like float around you, and it's very Lovecraftian. And so it does have some like dark, spooky vibes to it. So I'm curious to see where it goes. Again, I only briefly started it, and it seems pretty good for the season so far. So curious to check out more of that. I don't know.
It looks cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if it's enough to entice you into No Man's Sky or not, but
they keep pumping out content, man. I thought that we would see a slowdown of this as they got closer to, what is it, Light No Fire? Light No Fires?
Yeah. Light No Fire.
Light No Fire. But no, it just seems like they're still committed to pumping out content for No Man's Sky. I feel like it's every couple of months even. Like, because we had the fishing one. Was that the last one, the fishing one?
Yeah, the fishing one was the last one.
They're keeping pumping them out. I would not be surprised. In fact, I will submit now that I believe they will have some sort of Christmas event.
That would be cool. I'm curious if they do something like that, what it would be like. I do like seasonal events, so if they want to drop like another, limited time Christmas themed expedition around the holidays, I would be all for it. But
I wonder if it would be a thing where you would have to deliver stuff in a certain amount of time, like Santa Claus does.
Oh yeah, and they give you like some interesting like holiday themed armor that you can wear. That would be cool. Yeah, that would be awesome if they did that, and like some sort of crazy ship that looked like vaguely like a Santa sleigh. But speaking of other DLCs that are happening this spooky season, Vampire Survivors is getting an Ode to Castlevania DLC.
A long time coming.
I believe it's dropping on Halloween. So on Thursday of this week, as this podcast is going up, you should be able to play a Castlevania-themed DLC for Vampire Survivors. Yeah, a long time coming. It's obviously very heavily inspired by Castlevania, and so it's sort of coming full circle to actually get a Castlevania DLC for it.
They kind of like tricked us out a couple, was it last year? Because they revealed they were going to do a Konami collaboration, and everyone was like, oh man, this is going to be Castlevania. But it was actually Metal Slug, which was very funny. But
was
yeah,
it was
Metal Slug. It was a gun one, wasn't it?
It was, what is that game? The old arcade game, 2D side scrolling.
Oh, yeah. What was that called? You're right. It's does it start with a C? Not Congo.
I think it does. I think it starts with a C, but I can't think of what it. What did you say?
Contra,
yeah, that one.
Yeah, it was Contra. You're right. But yeah, I think even in the very beginning, Vampire Survivors like used some assets from an old Castlevania game that they had to like remove and then re-add as like their own unique assets. So it's really come full circle, and I don't know how much more meta you can get, but I have not played this game for probably a year, and it seems like it's like constantly been getting content drops. So I'm sure it's very different from when I played it.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more stuff in it, a lot more characters and weapons and things like that to do. And I got back into it sort of in a big way, probably roughly this time last year. I know I was playing it. We were checking out the co-op when I was hanging out with family over the holidays last year, and it got me back into this game, and I played a bunch of it. But there's so many ways to play it now too. You can even play it on your phone.
Yeah.
So
it's come to everything.
It's available everywhere, and I do really enjoy this style of game as well. A game we haven't talked about much on the show that I've been playing this year is the Deep Rock Galactic Survivor game.
Oh, yeah.
That I believe might still be in early access, but that game's really fun, and I've had like some good times playing that game just every once in a while here throughout the year. So I do enjoy the style of game, so maybe I will jump back in and check it out. It's free, right? I think all their DLCs are.
I think that is the case.
Yeah, maybe you do have to pay. I don't know, but this would be a fun one to check out for sure.
Well, something you can't check out is the Nintendo Switch Online Playtest. Let me set the scene. A couple weeks ago, maybe like a month ago, Nintendo was like, hey, we're doing a super secret, and I guess it's not secret because they asked for volunteers, but we're doing a Nintendo Switch Online playtest, and only 10,000 people can sign up for it, and also you have to sign an NDA. There were some articles online that I saw where they were like, get ready to try to sign up for this. But like all the seats got filled almost immediately because there was only 10,000 and probably a ton of people tried to sign up for it. The preload for it started happening, I think, last week, and people actually got their hands on it. And it seems that a lot of people don't care about the NDA because they are talking about it. And it came out that it is some sort of MMO that they're testing. Right now, all the assets are possibly placeholder. My speculation I read was this is possibly some sort of preamble to maybe an Animal Crossing MMO, but everything right here looks just like, it's not like half finished or anything, but it is like there's no Nintendo characters in it. It's all just sort of like faceless little guys that you're doing stuff with. If you look around, it's possible to find videos of this being played, but Nintendo has been pretty quick to take those down as much as it can. But there are leaks happening. Zach, have you looked at any of the videos of this?
I have not. I'm scrolling through this doc that we have linked in the show notes and looking at the pictures. And if this is like all placeholder assets that will eventually get replaced by like Animal Crossing style characters, it makes so much sense as like a next gen version of Animal Crossing to do like sort of the online MMO version. But yeah, it kind of sounds like Animal Crossing meets Minecraft, but
yeah,
it's like an online thing where it's also sort of an RPG because it sounds like you can level up your character as well.
They want to get that Roblox / Minecraft money. And so in doing what they're doing, what this looks like now is you have your own zone and you can build in that zone and nobody else can build in it. But you can also go to other people's zones, much like you can visit people's islands in Animal Crossing. And there's like shared zones. There's like a core world you can go check out. Everything is controlled by a beacon, I guess, right now. So you get to the place where your beacon is where you're able to control stuff. And you can move your beacon around. I haven't seen a ton of videos of this, although the thing that I did see, which is very interesting, is there's a locomotion method in this where it's basically Spider-Man. Like you're jumping around your zone and they have like a little white squiggle that you shoot out and attach to things and you kind of like web swing around, which is interesting. And I feel like doesn't really fit with Animal Crossing. So I'm not sure what that means, but I
was going to say, looking at the assets in these images, I don't know if you could paste an Animal Crossing skin over top of this.
They're recommending Switches that are doing this to be connected via Ethernet, which by default, I mean, my Switch has only ever been on Wi-Fi. I don't have the dock, I don't think, that has... that's like an extra piece of the dock that lets you have an Ethernet port on it. I have like a first-gen dock. But
yeah, I think that was with the new dock that came with the OLED. The OLED. Yeah, the OLED version.
So that's curious to me. I wonder if this points to the Switch 2 possibly having a built-in Ethernet on the get-go. I would bet that it probably does. I'm interested to see what the dock looks like for the Switch 2. And I feel like we are, any week now, could be the Switch 2 reveal. But I think this is really interesting because they've never really tried to dip their toes into like the Roblox type of thing where everyone, like an MMO basically. Nintendo's never done an MMO before, which is, I think, it's the prospect of them doing one is very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if they tied in interesting ways to like Switch Online and
yeah, I mean, like if you could go to like Luigi, like if you could go to like Luigi's Mansion World and like level up your character there. A thing I'm glad I never bought a Wii U, but I watched people play Wii U when it came out, and the thing that I always wanted to try was that, like, I think it was called like Nintendo Land or Nintendo World, and it was like the pack-in game for Wii U where you're going to like different zones and there's like little mini games, and it looked super fun because a lot of it took advantage of one person has the like tablet they're looking at and everybody else is like on the TV, and it was themed in Nintendo in different ways, and it looked like a really good time. Probably maybe the only reason to have a Wii U.
What if this is just some next gen version of that?
I mean, that would be great. I would love it if you could go to themed worlds, if there was like a themed little like I said, Luigi's Mansion World where you could go in, do mini games based on that, or like go to like a weird version of Hyrule that's like a Breath of the Wild style, or even a Tears of the Kingdom style, like, oh, make a little boat or something and then you earn points or whatever. I'm not sure what leveling up your character does.
Yeah, that's the question I have.
But it's very exciting. I in general, I don't really play MMOs, and I've never played Roblox because I don't understand it. I'm more of a Minecraft guy. But this is all very interesting to me. And I wonder if we will see more of it when the Switch 2 comes out. I wonder if it'll be a core feature of the Switch 2 is whatever this thing is. What if the pack-in game for the Switch 2 is this MMO that you have access to? It's like always downloaded onto the console, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's like, it says that there's like user-generated content features as well.
Yeah.
which obviously right after that, there's also a reporting feature in case you find something that's not appropriate.
Yeah. I think there's even like you have to take a quiz as you log into this that's like, how should you be treating people when you play this game? And then you have to say like, well, you should be polite and stuff. And then it lets you into the game. Very interesting stuff. I haven't seen a ton of videos on it because Nintendo keeps taking them down. But I thought I would link to this little doc because it doesn't reveal everything, but it is like a nice overview of like kind of the vibe of what's going on. And I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll never see anything about this again. I mean, it's just a play test. Maybe they're just testing out stuff to see how everything works with their netcode and things like that. But I don't know. They've been dipping their toes more and more into multiplayer stuff. Like the Mario Wonder had all those great kind of multiplayer things where you could see the ghosts of people and kind of play with people.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought that was it was not an MMO, but it was like a little bit akin to like a Destiny type of a thing, where you'd run a level and you just happen to see other players there, and you could set down a little standee for them. If they died, their little ghost could go back and touch that, or you could interact with them by bumping into them, and that would revive them.
Yeah.
And it became this sort of fun little online co-op thing where you and everybody else in the level was just trying to make sure everybody made it across the difficult platforming sections and made it to the end. So
very curious. I gotta say, I think we're close to the reveal. They didn't do it on the anniversary of the revealing the Switch, which is totally fine. And anniversaries usually don't mean anything as far as like releases. But I feel like we're close. It could be this week. It could be November, it could be December, but they have to do it before March. And I still think that it's going to come out around March. So I am hopeful that we'll get a reveal this week. I'll go on record. I'm going to start saying every week it's going to be this week.
Yeah. So were they saying launch was going to happen?
No.
In like early next year?
They only said they would reveal it by early
next year.
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be a thing where they reveal it in like March and it doesn't come out until October next year.
Very true. It could be a solid year from now.
Yeah, that's the question. And this could be, like you said, this could be like sort of a launch title for the Switch 2. And they could be like, hey, check out these new features that we have for the Switch, and this game is like uniquely positioned to take advantage of it.
The Switch didn't have a pack-in game, which is fine because Breath of the Wild came out on the same day, and it's maybe one of the best games ever made. But I don't know. I could see them putting a pack-in game for this. I mean, that's what Astrobot was for the PS5. Not that they're going to take any cues from Sony, but
yeah, I mean, that was smaller and more of a sort of showcase for the controller that just happened to be more of a game than anyone was anticipating. But I almost feel like the days of pack-in games has sort of come and gone.
Yeah.
It was a common thing back in the day when a new console launched. You would have a new game to ship with it, and it would just be sort of a pack-in thing that would be a nice sort of incentive to purchase the new console, as you also got a game with it. But now they are like, we can make more money if we sell it separately.
Another thing that has made me think that we're right on the cusp of this reveal is they showed there was a trailer for Yuka Replayly that came out recently. This is sort of an HD remaster of Yooka-Laylee, that game that came out a while ago. It's much more than an HD remaster. Apparently, they've added a ton of new stuff to it. New characters, new game mechanics, a lot of quality of life stuff. There's now like a warping system. I never played this game, but I might play this remaster because apparently it's much more playable. They've fixed a lot of the problems people had, I think, with the original.
Yeah, I was
But
gonna say I remember like the 2D one that's sort of a Donkey Kong
oh yeah,
Country
yeah.
like game was like really well liked, and I've played some of that game and thought it was pretty good. But I never played the 3D one, and this one is the 3D one that's like heavily inspired by N64 era 3D platforming games.
Yeah, like
And
I
that
would say
one,
extremely inspired by Banjo-Kazooie specifically.
yeah, and I've always heard that that one is not as good. So
Yeah.
I maybe if this one fixes some of the problems people had with it, that would be a cool way to sort of re-release this and get more people on board with it. But
I'll be interested to see how it reviews. I feel like Astrobot has awoken something in a lot of people, and now people realize like, oh, fans are hungry for more like character platformers type of things. So maybe we'll see some more in a couple of years as they get developed. But I could see this doing really well because people are so hot on Astrobot and they want more stuff like that. And everyone loves Banjo-Kazooie. But the reason I pointed this out, and the reason a lot of people are talking about this, is because at the end of this trailer, it says it's coming out, a wish list now, for Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, PC, and it just says Nintendo. It doesn't say Switch. It just says Nintendo, and then like two little eyes like Cappy come on and like sit on Nintendo. And so people are speculating this is actually kind of the first trailer for a Switch 2 game that we're getting, because they can't say what the Switch 2 is called. We still don't know what it's called, but this is coming out for, in quotes, Nintendo. And so people are thinking that this is possibly like a kind of a backdoor way, the first launch trailer for something that's coming out on whatever the Switch 2 is going to be called.
that's very interesting. Yeah, it doesn't have the Switch logo. It has the Nintendo logo,
And they really call attention to it because like it shows that screen, and then those eyes pop up and they sit right on the Nintendo, just like Cappy's eyes.
Yeah, at first I was trying to decide if that was just like a part of the background, but no, I played it back, and it definitely, the eyeballs come in from off screen and just like move over to the Nintendo logo and just like sit on top of it, looking around.
I mean, I think the Switch 2 is poised to have an insane launch, because I still believe that UFO 50 is going to be a launch title, which is an insane launch title for any like that's going to be hours and hours of content from just one game. I also think that Hades 2 is going to come out, maybe not exclusively for Switch 2, maybe it'll be like a full, everyone gets it at the same time, but I would bet it is going to be available at launch on the Switch 2. And then this is also available. These are 3 games. We don't even know any like first party stuff that's launching yet, and surely they have something first party that's also going to launch. So, I mean, it's not like we're not going to be playing snipper clips again, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I wonder how many of the games that we're like already aware of that are likely to come out that maybe we wouldn't have expected to get a Switch release. Now that they have a little bit more power with the Switch 2, maybe it will actually get a Switch release.
I mean, the rumor was the docked version of the Switch 2 was as powerful as a PS4 Pro, which, like, I mean, I played Ghost of Tsushima on a regular PS4 and it looked gorgeous and super high fidelity. So, like, I feel like the ceiling is very high for what you could put onto a Switch 2 if that's like the actual power level.
Yeah, and I remember back when like Forza Horizon 5, I think it was, came out, there were all these videos that they were doing showing just like the scalability of games these days, where they're showing, okay, this is running on an Xbox One, this is on the Xbox One X or whatever, and this is on the Series S, and this is on the Series X, because we have so many different consoles that we have to support. And it ran. You could tell a difference if you look side by side on what they look like, but they were all able to run on all of those systems. And so, yeah, maybe we're getting to a point where there's not as much a difference between like a PS4 Pro and a PS5 that, you know, you wouldn't be able to scale it down to be able to run on a Switch 2.
It's true. I think it's I can't stop thinking about it. It's my favorite thing to think about is what the Switch 2 will be and what interesting features it will have.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think, like you, once that new trailer comes out, I'll probably be watching it daily in anticipation of when it finally comes out. But it might be the first console that I ever actually pre-order. I have not ever pre-ordered a console before.
Oh, man.
So, even though I was able to get the Switch on day one.
I wonder if you will have better luck getting a Switch 2 than me, because I now live in a place where I feel like it's going to be more of an issue for me to get a hold of one. And you'll probably just be able to like walk into a store and point at one and get it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll probably try to pre-order it from like Best Buy or Target or one of the local game stores here. But I guess we'll see how that all plays out.
Before we move on from news, I wanted to shout out one more trailer that I saw this week. It's for a game called Bye Sweet Carol. And it looks like an old like Disney movie. It's very animated, and I have trouble discerning what are cutscenes and what are gameplay elements. But it's kind of a scary, like it looks kind of like a scary Disney movie. And I don't know, I don't think it's like a Metroidvania or anything. I believe it's more of a linear, maybe like Inside type of game. But it's beautifully animated. And it seems like it's going to have a lot of interesting set pieces. I also think you can turn into a rabbit, which is cool. But I wanted to shout this out because it's very unique looking.
It is crazy. It does look like a sort of 90s era Disney animated movie. Like it has that art style. And this is very interesting.
I wonder, this could come out on Switch 2, I think. Who can say? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet. It could.
I bet we'll see more of this. This trailer just kind of came out of nowhere 2 days ago as we're recording this. But I would bet, this seems primed for something that like Keeley would want to show at one of his shows. Which, and that's something we're going to have to start talking about soon, is the Game Awards are right around the corner, and it's the 10-year anniversary, and Keeley keeps like teasing it. He's very excited for it. So I feel like he's maybe going to try to pull out all the stops for the 10-year anniversary. So could we see Half-Life 3 perhaps? That would be probably his biggest get he could ever get. As we were talking about last week, I watched more of those videos, and I still don't know if it's something that's actually real, but there are a lot of compelling videos out there from just like random YouTubers that have 100 subscribers about how Half-Life 3 is definitely real. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to see when that comes out.
Before we get into the rest of what we have lined up for the show, I was going to mention that Like a Dragon Yakuza TV series is out on Amazon. We talked a little bit about it before we started recording. It seems like it's not getting particularly good reviews, though. With I checked Metacritic, and most of the reviews were like it just doesn't quite hit the tone of the games. And we were talking about this, and it definitely seems like a difficult thing to pull off, especially in live action, to capture the tone and mood of the game, because it swings so wildly from sort of over the top silly nonsense and sort of heartfelt story beat moments, and somehow it works in the game, but it would be very, very difficult to pull off in live action.
I would want them to try for sure, and I feel like maybe the problem is they didn't try hard enough. Like I watched the trailer for this, and I didn't see anything super duper zany, and I think that's the charm of the game, is that you will get these like, you know, someone is like, oh man, my mother has cancer and she's been in a wheelchair, and like my dog just got hit by a car, and then like the cutscene will end. You'll walk 2 feet, and a guy riding like a mechanical giraffe will come up to you and be like, man, I gotta eat all this chili. Can you help me? And you're just supposed to like roll with it. And I feel like it's very difficult to thread that needle in live action, you know?
Yeah, I talked about when I was actually playing through Infinite Wealth earlier this year. There was a side quest involving that diaper gang that were the guys that just wear diapers and that's like their thing. And you kind of befriend them, and it's so silly, that side quest. But then like 5 minutes later, I had gotten back into the main quest line, and the next like piece of that quest line was this like very sort of emotional story beat. And once I got through it, I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, it's not every day that like a piece of media can come out that can swing so wildly from the diaper gang to this like emotional story beat, and have every piece of it work, and you still be completely invested in every aspect of it. And so it does pull off zany but also like heartfelt story beats. And
I think probably the show doesn't lean into the zany enough. There's probably not like a crawfish that you anthropomorphize and like runs a business for you in the TV show.
And you like throw it at an enemy, or you call in a pound mate who has cannonballs for fists and beats up an enemy for you.
They probably went too serious is why people don't like it.
Call in a satellite laser beam to like knock out 10 guys at once.
I mean, I didn't see any in the trailer. I didn't see him riding a dolphin at any point, so
that's true. To really capture the mood of the games, you do have to go wildly over the top and zany, and this does feel like just from looking at the trailers, it does seem like more of a straight sort of crime drama type of a thing, which maybe if that was the approach they were going to take, they should have done the spin-off to the Yakuza series, Judgment. Is that what those two games are called?
I don't remember.
Which I think was like more of a like crime drama, more serious game series that was a spin-off. I don't know if those games also had the zany stuff in it or not, but maybe that's what they should have done instead. But
who can say? I linked something in the chat that you should watch at some point. You don't have to watch it right now, but Black Ops 6 is out, and that video game donkey guy released a video about it. And I think it mirrors the kind of problems we had the last time we tried to play Black Ops together. It's basically 6 minutes of him trying to play Black Ops 6, but it's like so confusing because you have it on Steam, but then when you launch it, it opens Battle.net, but then you launch it again and it opens in the Call of Duty launcher. So it has 3 launchers you have to go through. And it's like incredibly confusing. There's all these boxes you have to check. He's like reading all of the text, and it's like Black Ops 6 out now. And he's like, is it? Because he like can't figure out how to play it. And there's a part in this video where he just starts installing Animal Well and uninstalling it just to see how many times he can do it before Black Ops installs. It's very funny, I think. Black Ops 6 is out. Will you play it, Zach?
I have already started playing.
Oh my God. How is it?
Well, so I did re-up my sub to Game Pass for 1 month just to get Call of Duty out of my system.
Yeah.
And I will unsub and be done with it, because that's typically how it goes for me when I try to get back into Call of Duty these days. I will start it, I will play off and on for a couple of weeks, and then I've sort of had my fill of it and I sort of move on. So it's not worth it to me to buy them.
Yeah.
So I'm just playing it on Game Pass. And I did start, I played a couple of the story missions, which I was a little bit pleasantly surprised by, because it's not just like military dudes running around shooting 1,000 enemies and moving from checkpoint to checkpoint. This one is more like stealth based.
Oh,
so a lot of the missions so far have felt more like a sort of a spy thriller type of a thing, where
that's cool.
You have like sort of a central hub area you go back to between missions, and you're like taking money that you get in the missions to like upgrade the hub area and add more stuff to it. And
are you the same guy in every mission?
Yes, at least so far.
Is that a departure from previous Black Ops games, or is it usually you're the same guy every time?
I don't know, actually. I played the first Black Ops in like what year was that? It's a long time ago. And so I'm not up on the story. There is like a little video you can watch that's like the story so far, but it's like super condensed in a way that I feel like I didn't get anything out of. So I couldn't tell you much about like the history of the Black Ops series and the storytelling and all of that. But yeah, it feels like sort of an old spy thriller, and you sort of have the option to go loud or go quiet. And so I always take the go quiet option.
Mm-hmm.
And you stealth around. One of the missions I did last night was a mission where you like go to this sort of political event, and Bill Clinton was there because it takes place in like the early 90s. And you're supposed to like dig up some dirt on this senator that's there so that you can like take a retinal scan of him by like somehow getting sort of an audience with him. And
very Mission Impossible.
Yeah, and there are like 3 different ways that you can go about doing it, and I think it's like the idea is that maybe you'll replay these missions and like try out the different methods. But yeah, it does have a little bit of a Mission Impossible feel to it so far.
Interesting.
But yeah, you have like the silent takedowns and the silenced pistol, so it has a little bit of like an old school James Bond video game feel to it as well. And
do you have gadgets?
Yeah, the camera is definitely a gadget because you can like aim at sort of guards in the area, and it will like sort of highlight them for you so that you can kind of keep track of them. And yeah, so it's interesting, more interesting than I thought it would be for like a Call of Duty campaign. I thought it would be kind of over the top and ridiculous, and I would like burn through it and forget about it immediately. But so far, it's been pretty good so far. So
how was your installation process? Was it easy to navigate?
So on Xbox, you go to like download Call of Duty, and it's like check all the ones you want, and there are like 20 different listings or whatever. Yeah. And you've got like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 campaign, multiplayer, whatever the Warzone. There's like, I don't know, a little extra content or whatever that you can get because you have it on Game Pass. And so I checkboxed the ones I wanted, which were only the Black Ops 6 ones and not the previous Call of Duty games.
Sure.
And then I just hit download, and it did take a long time to download.
Yeah.
But once it was downloaded, I just jumped in and was able to select what I wanted. It is dumb though, because it wants to connect to the internet even when you're trying to play single player, like the story mode.
Yeah.
And so you like, I was in the campaign mode playing, and then I was like, okay, I've played a couple missions, I'm good. I'm gonna go check out the multiplayer now. So you have to back out of the campaign stuff. And you have to back out of that back to the main menu. And then when you go to sign in, it's like trying to sign into like their servers or whatever. And it's like you're queued up. I was like, I would hate this if I was just trying to get into the campaign mode to continue where I left off. And so then you get in and you have to select which mode you want, which was multiplayer in that case. And it was fine after that. But yeah, multiplayer is sort of the mixed bag that Call of Duty multiplayer has always been, where sometimes it's very fun and very addicting and you see why people are so into it. And other times it is a slog because you're getting like spawn killed. And Call of Duty multiplayer, one of the things that eventually made me just be like, all right, I'm done with Call of Duty is their like kill streak reward system is like, it's on the one hand, it's fun because you get incentivized to build up kill streaks and you get rewarded for playing well. Fair enough. But on the other end of that spectrum is if you are getting spawn killed, which can happen in the game, there's no way to turn that around because the enemy team just gets the ability to kick you while you're down already, basically.
Yeah.
So I played one match the other day where it felt like we were getting spawn killed. Like I would spawn, take a couple steps and get hit by a rocket or something like that. It was really frustrating. And then, so one of the guys on the other team had this like chopper gunner thing, which is always the worst. If the other team gets that, it's over because you're gonna get spawn killed by the chopper gunner repeatedly until the end of the match, and so it doesn't feel good. It's one of those things where, like, I think other games, especially if they've gone more of like a hero shooter route, have figured out that it's not compelling to give the team that's already stomping the other team the ability to basically end the match by allowing them to stomp even harder after that. So they give you, like, in a hero shooter, everybody has some sort of special game-changing ability that is just like charging up over time. And so you feel like even if you're not doing well in a match, you have that opportunity to turn it around. And that's not really the case in Call of Duty. But when it's going well, it can still be a lot of fun. Like, I played a bunch of matches that were going well, and I did have fun in those where it felt like a thing a lot of Call of Duty players complain about is the skill-based matchmaking. So if you, like, do well in a couple of matches, it's going to bump you up into a higher tier, and then you're like, oh, I'm not prepared for this, and you get destroyed for a while. And so it's just kind of bouncing back and forth between those two sort of modes for you, where it's like, oh, you're probably appropriately skilled for this group, and then once you do well in that group, they throw you into a group that you are not skilled enough to handle.
Yeah.
And so that's why you're going to struggle for a few rounds after that. But so yeah, it's a mixed bag, but it, like, the person inside of me that got really addicted to Call of Duty back in the 360 era and played a ton of those games, like Call of Duty 4, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, and the first Black Ops. Like, for me, I was never a big Halo guy, but I know a lot of, like, the Halo people, you know, Halo 1, 2, and 3, that those were, like, sort of the peak of, like, multiplayer fun. Iconic. Back in the day. For me, it was those 4 Call of Duty games, sort of similar time period. And so I do still have a little bit of a desire to go back in and play those and sort of recapture the fun of, like, playing multiplayer games like that, but it doesn't last very long with me because I eventually get to a point where I remember why I stopped playing them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'll play a little bit more of it. I do want to try to play more of the campaign and see how that goes, because that has been kind of fun. I don't know if I'll bother checking out Zombies because it's like a co-op mode, and I don't know. I don't really care that much about it.
I have a Gen Z coworker who loves Black Ops, and he said that the new Zombies looks bad to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How so?
I think people don't like that it's open world.
Oh, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been big into their Zombies mode, but I know a lot of people love it. We had a coworker that was super into it there for a while.
The lore apparently is very deep, but I think maybe people are reacting to... I think the open world nature makes the lore not as deep in some way, but I don't know.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I'll probably play a little bit more of it here and there over the next couple of weeks and then get my fill of it and drop Game Pass again and be good to go on it. But it's definitely the big game release for this week, so it was worth talking about. I guess let's talk what else we are playing and watching. And why don't you tell me about Dr. O?
I'm watching a bad television show, Zach.
Okay.
I actually don't know if I recommend watching it. I just am having fun watching it. I love Fringe. You know that show Fringe?
Yeah.
I love Fringe. And one of the main characters in Fringe is that guy, Joshua Jackson, who famously was in, not One Tree Hill. What was that other teen? Dawson's Creek. He was in Dawson's Creek, which I did not watch. But there's this new show that was like heavily advertised to me, and I don't know why. Like, I don't watch like terrestrial TV or whatever, but I somehow kept getting commercials for this in different places. And I don't get ads on YouTube either because I have like YouTube Premium. So I'm not sure how exactly they got me. But there's this really dumb show called Dr. Odyssey. Are you aware of this?
No.
It's Joshua Jackson, and he is a doctor. and he is a doctor on a cruise ship that is captained by Don Johnson, who was in Miami Vice. And I know him from Nash Bridges, which is a show I loved to watch back in the day when I was a child. But it's very dumb, and every episode is like very dumb, but I love to watch it. It's like very dramatic, but also very light. In the first episode, here's a good example of how dumb it is. In the first episode, the Dr. Odyssey himself keeps having like flashbacks. He has like a secret, you know? He's got some sort of tortured past. In the second episode, they reveal his tortured past is that he was patient zero for COVID-19. And it's just like very dramatic. Like he tells this like very, it gave me really, did you ever watch The Newsroom?
Is that the
Aaron Sorkin show?
Yeah, with what's his name from Speed?
Yes, he is in Speed.
Or from Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah, I forget his name. But
I saw some of it. I didn't watch much of it, but I saw some of that show.
They did that stupid thing in that show where everybody would be hanging out, and then someone would get like a phone call and be like, "Hey, this is weird. This thing might be happening." And then like on the bottom of the screen, it would like typewriter out like, and it would say like the date. And it would be like a very seminal date of like a thing happening, and everything got really serious. Like there was a hurricane or something. But this show is very funny to me. It's on a cruise ship. Very zany things are happening. Everything is like very weird. I don't know if I would recommend watching it unless you like trashy television, but I'm having a lot of fun watching it. Dr. Odyssey. I think it's on NBC or ABC. I have no idea where it's on. But yeah, Dr. Odyssey. What have you been... I have one more thing to talk about, but before I talk about that, what have you been playing and watching?
Well, so we already kind of talked about it. I started the Cursed Expedition in No Man's Sky. I think I'll play more of that this week since it is like a timed event, and I kind of want to get through it before I run out of time. So maybe I'll have more to say about that next week or the week after. And I've been reading some more stuff.
Oh.
So I started reading a book called We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. I don't know if you know the British... He's sort of a comedian TV presenter that is also like a writer.
No, I haven't heard of him.
He's been on a lot of like British game shows, and he was on a season of Taskmaster, which is one of the ways I know him. But I've definitely seen him before in other things, before he had popped up on Taskmaster. But he apparently wrote a very popular sort of murder mystery book called The Thursday Murder Club, which I think is going to be adapted into a movie or TV series for like Netflix or something like that. I don't quote me on that, but they're making something with it for somebody. But he has a new book that just came out within the last few weeks, I want to say, called We Solve Murders, which I think is supposed to be like a new series, but it's sort of like a lighthearted, like comedic, like fast-paced sort of murder mystery type of a thing. And I don't know, I've been enjoying it so far. I don't know if I love the style of it, but it's very like fast-paced, where even like chapters are like a couple pages. So it's one of those books where you pick it up, you read a chapter, and you're like, yeah, I can get through one more, and you read one more, and then because it was only a couple of pages, you're like, let me see if I could do another chapter here, and that one's only a couple pages too, so you're like, yeah, I can get through that. And so you end up like making big, progress in it by like knocking out a bunch of chapters in a row, because they're so small that you're always like, one more. And so I've been getting through it relatively quickly. I'm like already halfway through it. So.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it's been sort of fun. Again, lighthearted, comedic. They might, if Thursday Murder Club ends up doing well as an adaptation, maybe they will eventually adapt this book as well. But yeah, I don't know. I've just been trying to find more time to read lately, because I have a lot of books stacking up that I need to get to. And for whatever reason, maybe it was because I saw him on Taskmaster. When I saw this book pop up as a new release, I was like, yeah, I'll take a shot on this. And so yeah, I'm checking it out. But that's all for me. What about you?
Zach, have you ever seen the movie Paycheck?
Is that the one with Kirk from the new Star Trek?
No. I don't know what that one is you're talking about.
What am I thinking of?
You thinking of that movie where he's like a spy versus Venom? Tom Hardy?
No.
Chris Pine.
Yeah, let me look up Chris Pine while you talk about it.
Paycheck is a weird movie. It is American. It's, well, I don't know. It's a John Woo movie.
Oh, really?
It's a John Woo movie, but it stars Ben Affleck and Uma Thurman and Aaron Eckhart. But it's like, it really is like a John Woo movie in a bunch of crazy ways. Like, it almost makes more sense. I feel like it almost makes more sense as a like Hong Kong movie. Like, I've said in the past, there is a period of time in like Hong Kong cinema, or that's just like, I would say like 1999 to like maybe 2004 or 2005, where just like there's like a bunch of movies where like everyone's wearing a trench coat, everyone has like a very small computer that they are opening up and hacking on. Everyone's wearing like those glasses that have like things you can pull down that have like multiple like magnification levels. It's a great period of time, and I love all those movies. And this is kind of one of those, but in English. It does a lot of those things that John Woo movies do, where like there's a lot of what is that transition type where like that Star Wars does a wipe. It does a lot of like full wipes. It also does that thing, which I'm going to go on record as saying always looks bad. That is slow motion, where like the frame rate is reduced. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Is it like sort of stuttery slow motion?
Stuttery
or is it
slow
like
motion. I don't care for that. But it's a weird movie. It's I don't know. It's hard to describe. I maybe don't have the vocabulary for why it's so weird, but it's one I recommend, I think. It's just such an odd movie. Paul Giamatti's in it also. I don't want to talk too much about the plot, because as it unfolds, it's very interesting. I would recommend not watching a trailer for it and just going in blind, because like as you figure it out, you're kind of like, oh, this is interesting. But it's a lot of, there are parts of it that really made me laugh, because it was just like, it's so crazy to see. I think it came out in 2003 or maybe 2002.
Yeah, I'm looking at a trailer now, and the trailer is very of that era.
It's very 2000s. John Woo. It's like Zach, I'd like to ask you something. There's a seminal part in this movie where every once in a while, Ben Affleck will be having this dream, and in this dream he sees a door, and the door opens, and the dream stops before the person comes out of the door. Then it happens at the end of the movie in real life, and you get to see what comes out of the door. What do you think comes out of the door? Think about this. It's a John Woo movie.
A dove.
A single CGI dove comes out of that door.
I was going to ask if there were a lot of doves appearing in this.
That's the only one, but it's an indoors, I believe in an underground facility. There's no reason for a dove to be there. No one talks about it. It just is there. There's also a prolonged motorcycle sequence, which he is also known for loving motorcycles. Mm-hmm. It's a wild movie that I think you should watch. It's so odd. I think you should add it to your watch list.
Okay, maybe I will. It sounds like, does it have like similarities in style to Mission Impossible 2?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, obviously the dove, the motorcycle sequence,
sure,
and like slow-mo.
Lots of slow-mo.
For sure is like a John Woo staple, especially in Mission Impossible 2. It happens all the time.
I believe there is a part where someone jumps in the air and fires a gun as well.
Okay. Is there martial arts?
Zach, he gets done with his first mission, and then to unwind, him and Paul Giamatti do this thing where Paul Giamatti times him with a stopwatch, and he has a bow staff, and he's hitting 3 columns for some reason. And then he like breaks the bow staff in half, and Paul Giamatti's like, "Whoa, man, you're doing great."
Yeah, maybe I should watch this.
I think it's great.
It seems crazy and of a very particular time in Hollywood.
I had only ever watched it, I think, on the Sci-Fi Channel or something where, not to date myself, but I think I watched it with commercials. And it's on Max, I think. Is that where I watched it? I think I watched it on Max. And yeah, it was a delight. I loved to watch it.
Yeah, I saw that. Was this written by Philip K. Dick?
Was it?
That's what it says in IMDb.
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
I guess that makes sense. I was watching the trailer and it was like the director of Mission Impossible 2 and Face Off, and I was like, oh, I forgot that Face Off was John Woo as well.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, crazy. He was very big in Hollywood in the 90s and early 2000s. I got.
He made that Hulk movie.
Was it him that did the first Hulk movie?
Was it John Woo? Maybe I'm wrong about that.
He did do that Stranglehold game though.
I don't remember.
You remember that one?
No.
It's got what's his name that works with John Woo a lot. Oh gosh, what is his name? Chow Yun-fat. Yeah.
I've only
got
seen
him as the main character, and it's like third person set in Hong Kong, and I remember it just having like the ability to slow down time and like dive and shoot at the same time. I never played it, but it looked cool.
I remember this now, yeah. I remember Chow Yun-fat being like the main character of it.
I have seen, I'm just like scrolling his IMDb page right now, so, but I do remember seeing Red Cliff, which I did not know he directed, but that was a good movie.
Oh, I forgot about Red Cliff. That's one of those like sprawling historical things, right?
Yeah.
I kind of remember watching that.
Historical epic. And I remember seeing that and thinking it was very good. But
that's my parting wisdom, is to check out some John Woo movies. In fact, I would say check out Hard Boiled, because that's maybe his best one, I think.
Yeah, and after you watch Hard Boiled, then go play Stranglehold.
Yeah, then watch Paycheck.
Follow this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and YouTube Music, and leave us a review. Leave us comments as well, because we can then respond to them. And we'll catch you out on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.